So this is my video on international fights that I would like to be made in 2016. Before we get into it, 2 points. Firstly, I've already done a video on British fights I'd like to see made in 2016. Do check that out. That was uploaded 2 or 3 days prior to this video. So this video won't contain any British fights. Secondly, this is by no means a conclusive list. This is just some initial thoughts that I've kind of wanted to put down. I'll probably miss out a few obvious people, but there's so many hours in the day, and there are a lot of fantastic fighters internationally. So I'm kind of talking about fighters who at this point are very much exciting me. I'm going to start with the lower divisions, and I'm not going to go through every division, but I'm going to make a token comment to a chap by the name of Zolani Tete. British boxing fans will be aware of Paul Butler, who is one of our most exciting talents. You know, he looks like an excellent fighter, former world title holder. And the reason he is a former world title holder is because he bumped into this man, Zolani Tete, who looked a class above when he fought Paul Butler. You know, Zolani Tete looked to be a truly excellent operator. He's recently signed a promotional contract with Frank Warren in the UK, and I'm hoping, from a selfish perspective, that us UK fans are going to see more of this guy, because Zolani Tete, from what I've seen of him, has the potential to be a pound-for-pound top 10 operator. He looks that good. So I want to see him in big fights. I don't have encyclopedic knowledge of the lower weight divisions. I'm not going to pretend that I've got a list of 10 ready-made opponents that I'd like to see Tete in with. But what I would say is I'd like to see this guy active. I'd like to see him in big fights. And hopefully 2016 is a breakout year for him. Guillermo Rigondeaux, I'd like to see in a big fight. Who that big fight's against? Lomachenko? Leo Santa Cruz? Who knows? But to be honest, I know it's not his fault. I know there are various things against him outside of the ring, but he needs another breakout year. You know, Rigondeaux had a breakout year when he beat Broner, but time's passed since then, and he's become one of the forgotten men of the sport. So those are two sort of guys from the little weight divisions. You know, Zolani Tete and Rigondeaux, we need to see out. We need to see in big fights. Rigondeaux, Lomachenko is an extremely mouth-watering clash. You know, for me, Lomachenko is an extremely exciting prospect. I know he's very early in his pro career, but his amateur career was so extensive that, you know, he doesn't need much more of a build-up before he's looking for that fight. And I think that would be a very, very intriguing matchup if some agreement could be come to with regard to weight. If we look above and into some of the bigger weight divisions, Adrian Broner. I'd like to see Adrian Broner fight the year at 140 pounds. I really would. I think Broner is a very, very good fighter. He's gone from being the most overrated fighter in the sport to probably the most underrated fighter in the sport. And for me, the reason Broner's lost his 2 fights is he's gone up against much bigger men who've just been able to outmuscle him. If this guy sticks at 140 pounds, he's a problem. You know, no pun intended. But the guy has got very, very advanced skills. Adrian Broner, I'd certainly like to see him fight Victor Postol. That's a fight that I could see Broner winning. That would be a fascinating matchup if it's made. Yeah, Broner is undefeated at less than 147 pounds. Less than 144 pounds. And really, he's got no business fighting above 140 if you look at his frame. So he's another one I've thrown into the mix. Moving up to 147, Keith Thurman versus Sean Porter. That's a fight that's got to happen. Real exciting matchup. My initial instinct is to side with Sean Porter there, but 2 really exciting fighters. I've also heard Errol Spence versus Chris Algieri. That's a fight that I'd be extremely intrigued by. As for Mayweather and Pacquiao, I think Mayweather will fight again. It wouldn't surprise me if it is against Manny Pacquiao. If not, perhaps he'll fight in one of the higher weight divisions. Possibly a Cotto rematch. Possibly even a Canelo fight. Who knows? Manny Pacquiao, Tim Bradley 3. Yeah, I'd sit down to watch that a 3rd time, I really would. I know it's probably not a fight that the casual fans are overly excited for, but I think Tim Bradley is one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the sport, and I think we could get a lot of clarity about the positions in the welterweight division. You know, I mentioned Brooke Khan in my British video. If we get Brooke Khan, Pacquiao, Bradley, Mayweather finally retiring, Thurman, Porter, Spence, Algieri, you know, we could really know where we stand in the welterweight division by the end of the year, which would be very, very interesting indeed. Canelo GGG, I mean, for me that really is a very, very exciting fight. I'd certainly be keen to see that happening. I know there's talk that Canelo may fight Lemieux in the meantime, and I think Canelo beats Lemieux. But let's just hope that nothing gets in the way of this matchup being made, because that's genuinely one of the top fights in the sport, let alone the middleweight division. You know, part of me does want to see Bernard Hopkins try and win a belt at 168 pounds. I know he's 51. I know it's finally time for him to hang up his gloves. If he can get a fight against Arthur Abraham, Dmitry Chudinov, whoever it will be, what a story that would be for Hopkins to come back, reinvent himself in a new weight class yet again at the age of 51. To be honest, I'd probably pick him above those guys even at this late stage of his career. He's just that good. And whilst it may not be the most enthralling fight, it's a story that would go down in history and would be great to watch it live in the flesh when it does happen. At light heavyweight, for me it's simple. It's Sergey Kovalev versus Adonis Stevenson or Sergey Kovalev versus Andre Ward. I'll take either fight. The Andre Ward fight is a more interesting match for me. I don't give Stevenson too big a chance against Kovalev. I think Stevenson is a more limited fighter. I think he's got less tools in his armoury. And I think the way to beat Sergey Kovalev would probably be to outbox him rather than to outpunch him. And I think Andre Ward versus Kovalev is one of the classic hard puncher versus terrific technical boxer matchups. And, you know, although I can't see Andre Ward getting beaten in any fight really, Kovalev is the one guy out there who could have a combination of size, power, athleticism and skill. He's got boxing skill to make that an interesting fight. So that's certainly one that I'd look for in the new year. Andre Ward versus Sergey Kovalev, if it could be made. You know, any fight involving one of those guys, and Adonis Stevenson is also a fight that I'd be very, very interested in watching. Although I'd make both a favourite over Adonis Stevenson, I really would at this stage. Into the cruiserweight division, Alexander Usyk, I believe, or Usyk, I don't know how you pronounce it, I've heard different variations, could be mandatory for Krzysztof Glowacki's belt after only 8 fights. What a fight that would be. You know, 2 guys from Eastern Europe who we probably haven't seen too much of in the UK, but both guys look like dangerous, dangerous operators. For me, Usyk looks a very, very nice prospect indeed, and yeah, I think he's going to be hard to beat. But Glowacki looked very, very good against Marco Huck in what was a fight of the year contender. So that would certainly be an interesting fight. I'd like to see Tony Bellew fight one of the cruiserweight world title holders. Long-time viewers will know that I think Tony Bellew may come up short, but yeah, regardless, he's done enough to deserve the shot now. The reason I mentioned that, I should have probably mentioned that in my British video rather than my international. We're all over the place now. Into the heavyweight division, Deontay Wilder, I've spoken about him fighting Tyson Fury. Obviously that would be an excellent matchup to see. In terms of other fighters internationally, Alexander Povetkin, yeah, I'd like to see him in a big fight. He isn't getting any younger. I know he's mandatory for Deontay Wilder. Let's see if that fight can be made. Joseph Parker, the New Zealand heavyweight prospect, you know, one of the most exciting prospects in the sport for me. I'd like to see him continuing to raise his level of opposition and fighting more ranked fighters in 2016. By the end of 2016, I'd like to see him fighting Mariusz Wok, Ustinov, De Hapaz, you know, that sort of level of opponent, and I'd like to see a gradual progression to that stage for Joseph Parker. Luis Ortiz, the Cuban heavyweight. Yeah, I know there's going to be a huge temptation to freeze him out and to duck him because he's low risk reward, but hopefully there'll be a bit of money behind him now, and hopefully we can get him in big fights, maybe against Bermain Stavern. You know, it'd be nice to see him fighting some ranked opposition to help increase his chance of getting a world title shot, because Luis Ortiz to me does legitimately look like a top 5 heavyweight in the sport nowadays, and you know, I'd really, really like to see him tested at the top level because he's a very interesting fighter to watch, and you know, his style is actually unique in the context of today's heavyweight division. So yeah, I mean, that's just a few thoughts. As I say, I've probably missed someone completely obvious. Eddie Chambers is another one. He seems like a legit nice guy. It'd be good to see him in a big fight in the heavyweight division. Maybe Wilder, maybe the Charles Martin Glasgow winner, maybe even Ortiz himself. You know, who knows? But it'd be good to see Eddie Chambers come back into the mix and getting a big fight. As I say, I've probably missed someone obvious. Yeah, I think I've mentioned some of the big names there. But I've probably forgotten one of the pound for pound fighters. But there you go. Those are the sort of matchups that are keeping me up awake at night, and the ones that I'm looking at for 2016. Let me know your thoughts. How do you like the look of those fights that I've mentioned? What are you most looking forward to? And what have I forgotten that I should add to my list? Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, do give me the thumbs up. Also, do please subscribe to the channel. Over the next day or two, I'm going to be uploading some videos highlighting what myself and my brother believe to be fight of the year, fighter of the year, prospect of the year, etc. So if you like this kind of video, do subscribe to the channel and make sure you check out those videos. Thanks for watching.